all of you, all our honorable guests, speakers, and participants to this 9th International Conference on CSR to also commemorate the 25th year of Institute of Directors. Corporate social responsibility. This nomenclature also has come a long way. Decades ago, maybe it started with some sort of guilt complex, ultimately developed into a philanthropy, and then it was realized that it is much more than that. And the stakeholders also have an interest along with shareholders. And all the concept of ecosystem, environment, poverty, all of the things cropped in. And now it has become a full-fledged concept without which one cannot go ahead. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Govind. I now request Lieutenant General J.S. Ahluwalia to please deliver his theme address. General Ahluwalia, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure for me to welcome you all on behalf of the Institute of Directors. This 9th International Conference, you see, it's coming at a very apt time. Just our Company Act 2013 and the company rules supporting this act, especially the section 135, which talks about all this, and in the Schedule 7, it gives what are the things which will be applicable for that 2% to be mandatory to be spent on this. Now, these are various things which have made it very, very important for us to move the corporate social responsibilities, CSR, from the back room to the front and move up to the top, really, and so that it can be at the board level. Basically, it has to be dealt with at the board level. That is why the Act has very clearly laid down that you have to have a committee, CSR committee in the board, you have to have a CSR policy, you have to see a proper budget at this, and if you cannot spend 2% of the net profit of the last 3 years, you need to explain, comply or explain the normal principle as to why you could not do it. And if you don't do, there is a fine of half a lakh to 25 lakhs for the particular year. So it's something serious, something for which we need to see how to, now that we have to do this, how to get the best out of it for the organization, for the community, and the purpose for which it is meant. So that makes, that is why the theme, that an actionable agenda, that now time has come for us to look into CSR as an actionable agenda which will make us move it forward. Thank you very much.
I'd now request Ms. Namita Vikas. She is the Senior President and Country Head Responsible Banking, Yes Bank Limited, to please deliver her special address. Ms. Vikas, please.
Well, in India, we are currently experiencing a very challenging and exciting time. With economy on an accelerated revival path and development agenda on the forefront, CSR has indeed assumed a significant importance than what we had seen in the past years. Financial institutions, we believe, play a very unique role in influencing sustainable development across all sectors, since we are infusing money into the economy. In contrast to pure business, CSR is one area where collaboration is far more rewarding than competition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Namita. I now request Mr. Ranjan Dhawan, the Executive Director, Bank of Baroda, to please deliver his special address. Mr. Dhawan.
The Honorable Baroness Verma, distinguished dignitaries on the panel, ladies and gentlemen, I personally feel that CSR first of all begins at home, and we should not, corporates concerned, should not do anything knowingly or unknowingly which harms society in general, or delivers promises which could not be kept or which would be kept only by a fluke. I do think that CSR at its best would fulfill the objective both of the corporation and of the people for whom it is meant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dhawan. Our next distinguished speaker is Dr. Jaco Cilliers. He is the Country Director, UNDP.
It is indeed a very privilege for me to speak to leaders of the industry and various stakeholders involved in the important area of corporate social responsibility. CSR is not just something that businesses should be adding on at the end of their plans and at the end of their strategies. It is something that really starts right up front, as was mentioned here, in discussions with the board and discussions on how this can also improve businesses' bottom line, but also their share prices. I think that it is only when there's also acting together in the common interest of the poor and those that they want to benefit that CSR really makes a contribution and a change in people's lives. So I hope that what we discuss here today and how you as businesses and corporations also commit really develops into actions and into plans that can really benefit the people, the poor, and the marginalized, wherever they might be. And I think if we can get it right in India, this can be a model example for the rest of the world, the commitment that businesses can have of also changing societies, improving the lives of everyone. Thank you for your commitment, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity.
I'd now request none other than Right Honorable Baroness Verma.
It is a concept that is not really clearly definable. CSR has never been clearly defined, which is why often it gets mixed up with philanthropic activity. And for institutions, organizations, whether it's the private sector, the public sector, and even, dare I say it, the third sectors, there is a real need to have a clear understanding of what it is that is being delivered. You are living in a very fast-moving world, and this new government that has, under the premiership of Prime Minister Modi, one of the key messages that I think has come out of it is that if you're going to actually have some significant change, then you have to start by delivering it from within yourselves. And you know, the programs on Clean Up India, Manufacture in India, Make in India, you know, all of these things are actually key drivers. But unless your people are significantly skilled, significantly energized and motivated to do it, all of those things, of course, then will become slightly slow byproducts.
I'd request Right Honorable Verma to please release the conference souvenir. IOD has brought out a CSR handbook, which I request once again Baroness Verma to please release the CSR.
Ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to all of you at this plenary session on corporate social responsibility and actionable business agenda. CSR is not really new to Indian companies. Companies have been doing it for many, many years now. But India is the first country in the world to mandate CSR for all companies that are earning a profit of over 5 crore rupees. So that's a huge movement. Many more companies will now fall into the CSR fold. But naturally, the spends on the development sector are bound to increase. And if all these spends are not channelized, they're not directed properly, and they're not strategically planned, then the intent of this mandate is really going to be lost. So I'm joined by a very eminent panel here today that's going to be discussing on how CSR can be made into an actionable business agenda. With CSR becoming mandatory in India, and India being the first country to really do that, There's been a lot of talk, there's been a lot of debate about whether it's a good thing or whether it's a step backward, since a lot of people around the world feel that CSR should inherently be a voluntary process and not something that the government has to mandate onto a company. What's the view of the panel? Mr. Davra, what do you think?
There has been a certain criticism that CSR should be a voluntary and not a statutory requirement. But I think in the context of the Indian economy, we still have a lot of daunting challenges, and we all know the statistics. Half the population is living in poverty. 400 million people subsist on 100 rupees a day. So there are unique challenges to India. It's a huge country. We have lots of communities with specific needs. So I think it's a very good initiative, and it's an evolutionary process. We started the journey, and as things go on, I think the leaders of CSR will come from the corporate world, not from the political world only.
Do all of you agree with Vikas that it's a good move?
Since I come from NABARD, I interact intensively with both governments as well as the banks. Let me tell you one thing. I may be a good corporate, but for CSR, whether I am fully equipped or not. So it's not that 2% which hurts me or it bothers me as a corporate, but whether how do I maximize the value out of that 2%? What kind of impact I can create? I think that is a challenge area for all the corporates.
And as a corporate, Mr. Reddy, what is your biggest challenge when it comes to CSR initiatives? Is it the strategy, or is it the recognizing the causes, or getting a committee in place? What is your biggest challenge?
So I think 2% is not significantly very high. So within that, it would be very comfortable for organizations like ours to work in the area that we are doing. I think that would give a better dividend to the society if the organizations work in the area that they are function.
So Mr. Padma Kumar, for a small or medium manufacturer, when it comes to investing in CSR, what's the biggest challenge?
I don't really see a big challenge in implementing a CSR initiative. I mean, unless you see it as something which is different or very separate from what you do in your day-to-day work. I think this has helped to focus effort, the act itself. And for speaking purely from my company's point of view, I think we have a much better plan. It's now done on much like a business plan, and it's monitored and reviewed. So I think it's a good thing.
What's your view, Mr. Rajesh?
The main problem which we face in PSUs is to have a good NGO partner who can associate with us and take it forward. Because there are good NGOs and not so good NGOs. How to find the good NGOs and take it forward is a big challenge which we have to now learn and take it forward. Secondly is that what's the need? Assessment of the impact, assessment of the needs. We need to have a professional agency who can say, this need is there. Then you can do it. And what is the impact of suppose you do it, what is the impact assessment of the CSR spend? So these are things which need to be considered when taking a decision in the matter.
Right. How important is the CSR program of a company when it comes to you for borrowing?
As an institution, we see sustainability and CSR as a converged concept. Right. And when we look at our clients and when we look at companies who are, that we want them to be our clients, and we are very, very aware of the kind of business activities they are in. Because my reputation, my profitability, my business model is completely interlinked with the in-stream stakeholders, which are my clients. So we are very aware of who we are lending to. There are instances where we will sometimes even make a loss to start a relationship with a certain company, because we know one day we will make money as that company grows.
Mr. Dave, globally CSR activities are shifting from making just institutions into having focused community development programs. What would you say should be the key driving factors of a company that wants to focus on community development?
There are two ways companies have approached this issue. One is having their own development units, CSR outfits. The other one is putting money somewhere there is a confidence that money will be effectively utilized. In both the cases, the challenge is to identify right partner institutions. And from NABARD side, based on my over 7,000 NGOs that we work with across India, I can certainly make a candid offer that if you want rating tools for how do we look at the institution as a partner institution, we can certainly share with the corporates. That is the first part. Second part, that the monitoring, the impact part of it. I mean, these are two real challenges. On that count also, we have put in place a system where effective monitoring is carried out. In fact, in Gujarat, we started with GPS-based monitoring. So, for instance, you are creating, let's say, orchards, and Wadi programs are there. Now, Wadis are scattered across tribal villages. How do you know that Wadis are there? So, we enable through GPS. Somebody goes to the location, takes a snap, it gets uploaded based on the geographical parameters which have been already prefabbed. So we know that things have been really effectively utilized.
I'd like to ask the manufacturers on this panel, how important are environment goals, with respect to your CSR activities? What sort of initiatives are you taking up in that direction?
Actually, the environment has been a source of concern for us for probably the last 20 years. Initially when we started out, let me be very candid, it was not an issue. I mean, survival was the issue. But very soon, this became an issue because of the fact that we are located in Kerala. Kerala has a very literate, educated and very aware community. And you are not going to be allowed to do business which will in any way impinge on the environment adversely. So we were very conscious of this, and we were very careful to make sure that we would not affect the environment adversely. So we came up with a zero discharge policy which we have implemented about 7 years ago. So nothing goes out of the campus. And we also have a very strict pollution control. The norms laid down and the standards of the Pollution Control Board are the bare minimum standards for us. Also, as a member of a global company like Terumo, we have very strict environmental standards to which we have to live up to.
Mr. Rajan, do you think Indian manufacturers as a whole need to take much more responsibility towards the environment beyond what is mandatorily required of them?
Yeah, it is very much required to take care of the environment beyond the mandatory standards. And let me tell you some few examples from our CF. One is that we have our nitric acid plant, and the stag gases, we have got this NOx emission is there. So what we have done is that we have gone for a catalyst to convert this NOx to nitrogen and oxygen. That is the harmless gases. And in this process, we are earning the CERs. So we can trade them in the market and earn some revenue. So this is one example where we have converted the pollution to a revenue earning mechanism. The second thing is that in all these fertilizer plants, we have a waste product called phosphogypsum. This phosphogypsum can go to cement plant as a raw material.
So that sums it up well. At the end of the day, I think it's just about adopting that whole triple bottom line ethos of people, planet and profit. Thank you very much, gentlemen. You've been very insightful. Thank you. Let's have a huge round of applause for our panelists, please.
Now we commence the Golden Peacock Global Awards for Corporate Social Responsibility. The first award in the sector on automobiles goes to Tata Motors Limited, India. Second award for the sector financial banking in the government sector goes to PT Bank Mandiri, Mandiri Micro Business from Indonesia. for the financial sector private banking goes to Doha Bank, Qatar. The next category of Golden Peacock Awards for Corporate Social Responsibility National in this sector, chemicals and fertilizers, goes to Gujarat State Fertilizers and Chemicals, Vadodara. The next award in the category of same sector financial banking goes to the State Bank of India, Mumbai. Goes to the Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, New Delhi, in the sector oil production. Now we will request our distinguished guests to present the Golden Peacock HR Excellence Awards in the sector consultancy. Goes to Accenture Services Private Limited, Bangalore. The Union Bank of India, Mumbai, sector financial banking. Next award in the category HR Excellence, again the Golden Peacock Award, and for the sector oil refining goes to Hindustan Petroleum Corporation Limited, Mumbai. Award in the series in the sector transportation, covering the sector ports, goes to DP World Private Limited, Mumbai. That brings us to the conclusion of the Golden Peacock HR Excellence Awards.